It's Friday afternoon, it's 4 p.m. in Central Europe, and it's time for another episode of our Space Café BeNeLux today. As always, we appreciate your participation and ongoing feedback as we will learn and improve based on that. I'm Torsten, publisher at SpaceWatch.Global, and we are a Europe-based online platform for information in and about space and new space activities in a geopolitical context. And I would like to thank all our private and corporate supporters that showed their commitment to keep our independent journalism alive. We really appreciate that. In case you want to join the supporter team, it's just a click away from our website. So I know many of you are familiar with our website, our bi-weekly and our daily newsletters, and the Space Café podcast. So don't miss the latest episodes with features Margarita Cardi. It's called From CubeSats to Life's Curveball, the unscripted lessons of ESA's Hera mission. And it's part of our 4 mini episodes about Hera. We also have new episodes on our Space Café radios. One of them is The Sins of Ariane with Professor Patricia Cavareo. The Next Generation Propulsion with Neutron Star Systems team. And radio I have taken or I've recorded with Dr. Pascal Fauché of EUSST in Tallinn. You can find all our audios wherever you get your podcast from or on our website. And if you want to become a space watcher and let the world know about your cool t-shirt or mugs, visit our fan shop. It's open on our website. In case you've missed any of our web talks, we have an archive available on our webpage in the event section or, of course, on YouTube. With that, my job is almost done for today. Heike, over to you.
Thank you, Torsten, for the introduction and for having us today. Today, I'm talking to Kees Buijsrogge. Hopefully, I didn't butcher your name too much.
Excellent, Heike.
Thank you. Who is Director of High Tech for Civil and Military Space at TNO. And we discuss about the question, how is space technology key for Europe's sovereignty? Now, before we come to that topic, let's introduce you. So you have a Master in Science and Policy from Utrecht University. You're with TNO for quite a while, 17 years now, and served in various roles in applied research throughout the high-tech systems applications. So you started from the business development, moving onward to management of research groups in the defense domain. You have been research manager of the optics department, including the manufacturing. And in 2017, you were appointed the Director, Space and Scientific Instrumentation, and from July this year, additionally have the responsibility for the military space. So that's quite a broad spectrum of application, I'd say. Very interesting curriculum. So maybe let's have the first question around that. You don't, it's not a scientific background from the educational part. Of course, a lot of experience by now, yet you are very successfully managing a bunch of scientists and link the high tech to strategy and politics. So how do you do that? I mean, there have a lot of innovative ideas, in-depth knowledge, are super curious and enthusiasm, but still somehow you have to keep them happy and focused at the same time.
I think it's a combination, and thank you for the introduction, Heike. Indeed, during my studies, I got a broad spectrum of physics, mathematics, chemistry, and some economics and law even. And I think that study taught me how to connect scientists with policymakers. So I think there it all started. And I think I also like people. And to, how you say that, survive in an environment like TNO, where indeed brilliant scientists live and work, I think you need to combine both. So really liking the science, but also liking the people that do the science. And I think if you make that combination, you have a fantastic place here at TNO. And I think, like you said, already being here some 16, 17 years. So the combination of the both and my experience, yeah, has brought me here. That's it, I think.
Yeah, I think so. That's a secret of your success and TNO's success in the end, right? Of doing that. So as you said, you have some experience working for them for quite some time. So please tell us a bit more what TNO is and does, and obviously especially in the space domain, because TNO is also working on other topics, but we're in a space cafe after all. So what is the mission and how do you choose the topic you work on?
Yeah, TNO is an R&D organization. We are partially funded by the Dutch government, I think, and of course we are some 4,000 people, so not that big, but you might compare us a little with CNES or DLR or the Fraunhofer Institutes. We focus on a few topics. It's about ICT, it's about built environment, it's about healthy living here in the Netherlands, it's about defense research and industry. So my manager is managing director of the industry unit. We there focus on a few topics, for example, semiconductor industry, as we have the ASML company here in the Netherlands. We focus on flexible electronics, smart industry, and on space. And what we try to do, you might say, is connect societal problems or work on societal problems, and next to that, help stimulate Dutch economy. So I always say we try to work globally on societal problems and try to pull Dutch companies into the international value chains that we work in. Again, because partially we are Dutch funded. If we go to space, we are fantastic in making, I say, shiny aluminium. We are quite good at making optical instruments, but that's not what it's about. We have 4 whys why we work on space in TNO. We want to help prevent climate change and air pollution because we work on instruments that give insight to sources of those pollutants, you might say. The next topic is helping scientists understand the universe. So we work on optical instruments from satellites looking up, but also work on instruments on the big telescopes on the ground. The third topic is enabling secure broadband connectivity, so working on the next generation of SATCOM. And the fourth topic is safety and security in and from space. That's obviously the military topic. And the economic reason why we do space in TNO is we say we want to create Dutch control points. That may sound a little heavy, but suppose there will be a European satellite communication constellation. We want to get those Dutch companies into that European value chain, like I already said. So yeah, that's why we do space here in TNO.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think the control point sounds a bit like a roadblock. So it's more like a access point or unique selling point that they have a head start, our preferred partner in certain value chains, let's say. So in a nutshell, you choose your topics that it fit to all those. You want to make the world a better place, but including in practical terms that you bridge the link from the basic research to prototypization to commercialization for the Dutch industry.
Yes, and of course for Dutch industry, but we really believe in making the world a better place. And we start with we call them moonshots. So what do we think society needs in 10 to 15 years? What is it that our stakeholders want? And those stakeholders can be commercial companies, but it can also be governments or institutions, of course. And from those moonshots, we derive our roadmap and see, okay, what is it that we need to do to achieve those moonshots? And with who do we need to do that? And that again is often a global or at least European playing field, yes.
Okay, in that context, in addition to your position at TNO, you are active in a number of boards, such as SpaceNet and Space Expo Nordwijk, TU Delft Space Institute. Can you tell us briefly what do they do and why are they relevant for your mission?
Yes, of course. SpaceNet is the Dutch trade organization of space stakeholders in the Netherlands. So what we try to do there, and I indeed am in the board of that organization, we try to connect Dutch space, you might say. Dutch space was a company in the past, but the Dutch space ecosystem consists of some bigger players like the institution I work for, but for example, Airbus in the Netherlands. So the more bigger stakeholders and quite a lot of SMEs. And with SpaceNet, we try to connect that ecosystem together to help each other, what is happening in the world, and how can we help each other, as Dutch community to get or claim a position in the world. The TU Delft Space Institute is obviously by Delft University here, the technical university. And what they try to do, because it's quite a big university, a lot of research is happening, they try to they try to oversee the research within the several faculties. So not only aerospace engineering, but overseeing all the activities within the Delft University on space. And I'm in the advisory board. So what I try to do is indeed, what do we see as big trends in the world? Because we talk to both research and companies, of course, and what we, where does Delft University might want to work on in the future? So that's my role there. And the third indeed is Space Expo Nordwijk. You might see the Space Museum in the Netherlands with a very strong tie to ESTEC here in Nordwijk. And why am I there? Because I like outreach. I like to show normal people, so not the usual space enthusiasts, and also kids, of course, why space is important, what is happening here, and how can we already get young children, get kids enthusiastic about STEM, so applied research. And then, of course, space is very appealing, I think. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I think that also from those extended activities, it's a big part of your work that it includes educating the public, awareness raising, having it from a broader, not just the specialists we're talking to. And I think that's also some of the what we're doing today. From your experience, what do you think is the most important space topic the general public needs to be better informed about? And what do you do? Of course, you work in those groups. How can we achieve that?
General is quite broad, but I think
let's say a broader public, that we come out of our bubble and not always talking to ourselves, but reach a bit further.
If I would answer that without my TNO hat on, you might say without the space infrastructure, the world slowly or fast stops, because nothing works anymore. Bank payment doesn't work anymore. Navigation doesn't work anymore, etc., etc. If I focus a little towards the topic that we work on within TNO, and again, that's why I don't start talking about the instruments that we build. We really focus on the why we think space is important. And honestly, of course, it is great to talk about astronomy and looking out there and the search for life. It's a fantastic topic. And of course, we talk, and we perhaps will dive into that a little more later, talk about digitalization and connectivity. But for me personally, I get out of bed because we are working on instruments that help planet Earth. So if we have a very serious drive on measuring those emissions from greenhouse gases and air pollutants, so that we as a world, companies, policymakers, institutions, can take meaningful actions. And for me personally, that now is the most important topic, where I think we need to show general public, friends, this is why space is important. We can measure globally those emissions. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to show how strong a role space plays in many facets of our daily life nowadays, so that without it, nothing would work. And I think that's important to know before we start discussing today's question, how space technology is key of Europe's sovereignty, right? So it might seem a bit far-fetched, but we will get there. So, so there is a upcoming program which is called IRIS² for the European Secure Communication Infrastructure. So everybody in the space sector and elsewhere loves acronyms. So IRIS² stands for Infrastructure for Resilience, Interconnection and Security by Satellite. So in our today's increasingly contested geostrategic environment, what does it include? Can you give a bit of an overview from the important points, and why is it important?
Yes, honestly, I think it is not carved in stone yet exactly what it will be, but it will be a multi-orbit satellite constellation to provide worldwide connectivity, you might say, both for business and governmental services. So you might say high-speed internet all over the world, and especially in the, as they call them, dead zones now, whereas there are no connectivity yet. And indeed, it is a European initiative, because if you currently look, there are quite some satellite operators, and we also, of course, have some governmental services, mainly the Americans. But I think painfully we saw in the Ukrainian war that especially a country like Ukraine was or is very dependent on the commercial service of an American company. And Europe was already moving towards a sovereign European capacity, of course, but I think that incident, so Elon Musk saying, well, in some cases, dear Ukraine, you won't have connectivity to Starlink anymore. I think especially that incident painfully made us aware of how vulnerable we as Europe are on, in this case, a commercial satellite provider. So IRIS² is meant to overcome that vulnerability, I guess. So as a European, I am very happy with the initiative.
So, yeah, like you say, it will be a multi-orbit constellation, and it includes what's also to emphasize it's really for secure communication, also for civil and military use, dual use, to secure, to have a secure Europe, and to be prepared for, unfortunately, for such, but can also be also really secure in terms of cybersecurity, in terms of new technologies like quantum communication. All this kind of is included, right?
Yes, indeed. So we are putting the emphasis now on security, which is a total valid point, and I think we as Europe should be less dependent of, for example, the United States or just one member state of Europe. But it's also a business opportunity. Yeah? What you see now is that most of the commercial initiatives are, how would you say that, non-European at least. So I think with a European constellation, we as Europe also have the opportunity just to make some business out of connectivity, which I think also is a very valid point. Next to indeed the Starlink initiatives and Jeff Bezos and whatever not, in terms of selling or providing connectivity, but also providing the hardware needed for that connectivity. So also from that perspective, I really believe in such a European sovereign constellation.
And also have a bit of a working together, that not I don't know, 27 different solutions. No.
Yes. No, but that's a very valid point, if you ask me. So now some figures are public. I think the European Union is providing 3.2 billion euros. ESA is adding a 600 million euros additional budget next to that. So indeed, if a member state wants a constellation like that, give or take 4 billion, so also from a cost perspective, it would be very unlogical, let's frame it in a nice way, to have only a single member state solution. We as Europe, we are, in my opinion, too small to have not a European constellation. So I really believe in European collaboration in such a network, and not try to duplicate all the competences we have in the individual member states, but try to work together there and be smart and be strong by being smart.
Mm. So, I mean, you partially answered my next question. Why is it, of course, relevant for the Netherlands? It is, I guess, but maybe how do in practical terms, how do the Dutch players participate?
Yeah.
Because they cannot be in every there, but where is how does it work? How can they get their piece of the cake or their contribution?
And this is a difficult, perhaps delicate topic. We are a very small country, yeah. Although we have quite a nice economy, we are still a small country, and space doesn't. Of course, I am wearing a space hat, as we all have in this is. But to my opinion, space doesn't get the attention in the Netherlands what it deserves. So, for example, we need to choose in the Netherlands, and I think that's very wise. So we need to focus, to my opinion, and we are doing that. We need to focus on where we have a right to play. So it's about choosing the niches where we have a strong competence here in the Netherlands, and where for that competence there's a need in Europe. But for that, of course, you need to make budget available. Life is as simple as that. And I'm happy to see that in the Netherlands, slowly we are stepping up. We are now trying to form a Dutch space agenda over the individual ministries here in the Netherlands to align, okay, what are the important needs for us as a small Dutch company? Where are we country, where are we going to focus on? So where are our strengths, and where are we going to then apply those strengths in a European setting? Let's put it that way.
Okay, so quite a little hint message to your government to be a bit more open to.
That's also my job, Heike. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I need to advise my government sometimes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, maybe staying at that national level for a moment. For the meaning for a country, a small country like the Netherlands, a bit more from a defense point of view. Do the Netherlands need to build resilience in space?
That's a broad question. Let's go back then a bit to the previous question. I think here in the Netherlands, we are good on certain topics. We have a great capability on building structures for launchers. We can build quite good solar arrays. We have a very nice company working on small satellites. And, or you might say, we have a huge heritage on optical instruments. We've been making, as Netherlands, optical instruments for almost 50 years with some nice industrial stakeholders, and the core competence of TNO here in Delft, where I'm currently now. So what we try to do is, so do the Netherlands need to build resilience in space? Yes, absolutely. So what we see is that our Dutch Ministry of Defense is stepping up, which is a very good thing. And what we try to do is focus on two topics, categories, you might say. What is really need to have for the Netherlands? So you might say, what is Dutch eyes only? Because we all have our national interest, let's put it that way. So what is Dutch eyes only? And we are establishing, we have already been, but we are now rapidly increasing, establishing that competency, Dutch eyes only. And next to that, we are trying to choose wisely based on the heritage we have already in the civil part of space, you might say. Where do we apply that heritage also for our Dutch Ministry of Defense? And that's the ongoing discussion now, which is, I would say, going quite smoothly with our MOD. So what do they want to focus on in a European or NATO framework? So what is it that we can bring as Dutch into such a constellation network? Let's put it that way. So that's what we're building at the moment.
Okay, so it's really on one hand concentrating on your core competence, on for the whole picture, yeah, work with collaborations, be part of a bigger structure.
That is typically Dutch, because we are such a small country.
Yeah.
We need to focus in general, you might say, but because I think that's also what you see within Dutch industry, but also already for years at the Dutch Ministry of Defense, we focus on what we're good at and collaborate with other partners, yeah, to have a strong force. Let's put it that way.
So maybe coming to the civil part, would you say that also you said that you're stepping up and there's getting more traction in the space sector? Would you say that the recent signature of the Artemis Accord from the Netherlands for peaceful exploration will open additional opportunities for the Dutch industry or in general for the Netherlands?
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. I am quite happy that we have signed that Artemis Treaty. We as Earthlings, we want to go up there, so we want to go to the moon and even further. And I think also the Dutch can support that journey. Let's put it that way. Again, and I think we are going to do that with the strength that we have already. For example, the Dutch can build quite good solar arrays. So if we can contribute with something like solar arrays, but as you might know, also in the Netherlands, we are working on optical communications, so optical satellite communications. I think we can play a very nice role in connecting Earth to the journey to the moon with optical communications. So again, to my opinion, it's continuously about choosing what our strength is, slowly broadening that strength a little for several applications. And in this case, the Artemis Treaty is a very good application or opportunity, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. That's really good news, I think, for you. So obviously for the biggest scheme, no European country can do this alone. We discussed this a bit. There are a lot of cooperation in place, the EU, the ESA, bilateral, trilateral. We've discussed it in the frame of IRIS², but also maybe it's still a somewhat provocative question. Why, in a broader sense, why is European sovereignty important? I mean, we had the Ukrainian as an example, but yeah, I think there's a bit more to it, right?
I agree, and of course we briefly touched upon it. I think at least here in the Netherlands, this thinking started during COVID, during the COVID crisis. We are an exporting nation, but of course, in order to be able to export, we rely on the supply chains globally. And what we saw is that for you might say small but crucial things like mouth masks, we were dependent on countries that couldn't ship anymore. But I think here in the Netherlands we always say good in industry in high complexity, low volume, so very complex machines. And all of a sudden we realized that for some of the partners in the supply chain, they just couldn't deliver anymore because of this whole COVID crisis. So I think there it started that we realized ourselves here in the Netherlands, we are sometimes perhaps too dependent on other countries for crucial supplies. And then, of course, you might say the world changed very, very rapidly. Quite some dynamics at our eastern borders, of course, with the Ukraine wars. But let's be fair, we don't know what's going to happen in the US. And of course, the US is for the Netherlands a very important partner, and it will always be. We bought the F-35, for example, but we are very dependent on the US. But what you see happening now in the Netherlands, that also some voices are stepping up, we might be, or we perhaps even should be, a little less dependent on the US or other parts of the world. And let's focus a little more on Europe. And honestly, I also believe in that. Again, the world is a global place, and I believe in free trade with other countries. But again, strengthening European sovereignty a little bit more, to me, is a very smart idea.
So it's all about making sure that Europe is greater than the sum of its parts, I guess. And yet you mentioned the dependency on the US, but in general, where does this leave non-European partners also, such as NATO? It could be, I mean, European, more independent Europe is not necessarily a threat, but could be also an advantage for other allies, right?
I am director space within TNO, so I'm a little bit geopoliticians, you might say, but and these are broad questions that we are putting on the table here. But I don't think, but who am I to say that no, we should have a strong NATO, and a strong NATO involves, of course, the United States. But again,
but also strong Europe. I mean that to have like an equal,
I think we need to look at a mix of a strong Europe and a strong world. And a strong world means a strong NATO. But in space terms, also collaboration with NASA. And let's be fair. We can't just do everything by ourselves, but also the collaboration with the Japanese, for example. But it's choosing wisely. Where do we think we really need sovereignty? And where do we feel that a strong worldwide collaboration is needed? And that's not an easy question to answer, but I think I think history has shown us, or is showing us, that we were too dependent on the world, and we should create a little bit stronger Europe here. And what you said, or what we are discussing here, is not easy, because we are a multi-country Europe. And everybody wants the best for his or her own country, I guess, because that's what it boils down to. But still, I believe within Europe, we need to make use of individual countries' strengths and not try to duplicate the strengths that we have. And that is a very difficult discussion, but I think we should have we need to have that discussion. Where are we really going to collaborate? And again, where do we say, but this is German or French or Italian or Spain or Dutch eyes only? But I really believe in European collaboration there.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's didn't mean necessarily NATO, but any other partner. And I think the advantages of a strong Europe is also having for other allies or other partners, whatever, whoever that might be, that there is an equal and strong partner to rely on. And also if then in internally we agree, then we can also be externally a good partner. So yes. Of course, we will not change the world here today.
No, but you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right, in my opinion. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of corporations, maybe back a bit more to our playing field. So you had a quite successful, busy week in signing big projects like Eagle and announcing your cooperation regarding a quantum internet with Airbus. So maybe can you tell us more about those activities and how they fit into this, in the whole topic, in these ambitions for European sovereignty?
Yes. So like I said, one of our why we do TNO space is enable secure broadband connectivity. And I think the Eagle project, and honestly, Heike, you know perhaps even more about it than I do, because you were one of the founding persons, I think, of this initiative. It's about quantum key distribution via space. So this is the first European mission that will make those distribution of quantum keys happen. It's a huge consortium. It's of course ESA, but it's led by SCS from Luxembourg. And what we will do, we will send the quantum signal from ground. So we will, together with our partner Airbus Netherlands, develop the ground station that shoots the laser, including the quantum key, to the space node developed by the Germans, by TSAT. And yeah, this is super exciting, of course, because this is we are establishing as world optical satellite communication, and this is then the next step, including such a quantum key into the optical signal. And as we are TNO, we are an R&D organization. We do the first one, so we make the first product or demonstrator happen, and after that, our partner Airbus Netherlands will take it over and hopefully provide more of those ground stations to other European countries to really make it happen all over Europe. Yes, so we are super excited about this new project.
And the quantum internet with Airbus, that fits in the same direction. So you're really getting from optical to the even more complicated part. So it's just about general. Is it in the context of the EuroQCI or the? You have a broad roadmap from TNO for the whole quantum internet and so on. So I think that's very much fitting into the whole, let's say IRIS² secure communication roadmap, yes. Right?
For me, this is really exciting. So I know a little about physics and about mathematics, but this is really spooky. What we are trying to achieve here. So the way they explain it to me, and a few weeks ago we had a very nice introductory webinar about this. So if you want quantum internet, and what is then quantum internet? Quantum internet is about connecting quantum computers to each other or high-performing computers to quantum computers. And you want to connect them in such a way to create a quantum internet. But one of the difficult things within the connection between those quantum computers is that the signal goes through a fiber. and after 100-ish of kilometers, the signal gets weak. And you have to overcome that, so you can use quantum repeaters to strengthen the signal again. That could be an option, although those quantum repeaters are at cryogenic temperatures. And establishing such a quantum repeater on the bottom of the ocean is quite hard, as you can imagine. So in order to overcome large distances connecting those quantum computers, you need to use space. You need to use space nodes. So what we say, quantum internet enabled by space. However, and this might be a bold statement, but the world doesn't yet know how quantum internet by space will look like. So we took, at least here in the Netherlands, of course, the initiative, because it really builds on the roadmap we have on how would such a quantum internet look like. What we have here in the Netherlands is a very nice collaboration between Delft University and TNO, whereas in Delft University, fantastic science is being done on quantum computing and quantum internet. And they at the moment focus on ground-to-ground experiments, which are not easy, but they are making that happen. And TNO has joined that initiative already for some years to develop demonstrators of the fantastic science being done by Delft University towards companies or institutions. So that's called QTech. What we now do from TNO space, you might say, we have experience in free space optics, so sending lasers from ground and overcoming turbulence in the atmosphere, so sending the signal to space. And what we are going to do now is combine that knowledge. So combine the knowledge on quantum technologies with our free space optics expertise to make that quantum internet happen. And this is not something we can do alone. So therefore, we had extensive talks with Airbus. So not only Airbus Defence and Space, but Airbus Group, Airbus Central R&D, supported by Airbus Space Systems. And we said, we want to embark on this journey together to find out, and not only Airbus and TNO, but find the right stakeholders in a global community, you might say. So how does such a quantum internet architecture looks like? What are the most prominent use cases, and who do we need to involve? So indeed, yesterday we signed a letter of intent with Airbus and TNO to start such a journey together. And for me, this is super exciting. This is really the next step.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and then the next hard step is to explain to everyone what quantum internet is and does, and how it's going to be used and relevant in some time, and connecting, not only have those quantum keys, but also have the quantum computers be connected with secure communication and a lot of other benefits we're hoping on.
And honestly, Heike, if I may, because for me, this relates again to this European topic that we are talking about.
Exactly.
We know that the Chinese are doing some activities there, and we don't know for sure, but rumor says they are perhaps already ahead of us. So I think now is the time to step up also in Europe. And not alone, because this needs to be a global thing. So to my opinion, we also need to collaborate, especially with the Americans. But this is the time that we need to step up and try to take this great academic research towards application. Yeah. And to my opinion, this is the role of TNO. What do we need in the future? And the world says we need quantum internet. Okay, so now we try to make the moonshot and make the roadmap happen, and work on European collaboration there.
I think there's one important point. So what you're saying, first of all, it fits perfectly in this secure communication part we've been talking about before, but also what you keep saying, Europe has the brains, Europe has the scientists, and Europe has everything to make it happen. And I think the crucial part is also where TNO is playing a huge role, is to make it happen. It's not just we know that it works and have a prototype maybe, but to come to a part where we can roll it out, have a rollout of it, and that's also something Europe needs a bit of a of a push there. I think
that's a difficult topic, because and I keep on repeating it. I believe in Europe, but I think if we look at the other end of the ocean, the Americans, to my opinion, just do it. Probably it has to do with that company over there, Nike, but they do it. And we are organized in such a way as Europeans within the European Union, but also within the ESA framework, of course, that sometimes making speed is difficult. I think we need to do that.
Yeah, I think the problem is that we're much more individual countries with a lower budget, and so we have to really figure out how to work together to be as powerful to make those things happen. Maybe let's move on to the next question. It's always a bit like maybe should highlight here that most of those projects, if it's communication, secure communication, are not purely civil, or most of them are at least dual use, right? It's not always, as we realized in Bremen this week, it's not always well perceived because there were, I don't know if you realized there were some fireworks outside.
Oh, no, I didn't see it.
Yeah, because of the sort of defense relation to space. But dual use is important, and it is so. But why is it, and how does it concerns everyone? We cannot just keep it apart. And what's your take on it? Do you agree, or?
It is, of course, not without reason that within TNO we merge those topics, because apart from the European agenda, we are a Dutch R&D organization. You might say we are one of the, or at least perhaps the biggest house R&D labs of the Dutch Ministry of Defense. So we also have a role to play there.
Mm-hmm.
And we want the Dutch military to benefit from the knowledge we have gained in the civil part. And like I briefly touched upon already, TNO Space is here already for 50 years. So we have 50 years of experience with building space hardware. So it would be a bit strange, to my opinion, not to let the Dutch MOD benefit from the experience we have there. What I'm slowly learning, I used to be in the military myself years and years ago, and I worked at the military part of TNO for some years. And I think what I like about this combination, what we do in the military part of TNO is actually two things. We build fantastic technology, but we have the capability to at least sketch the Dutch military with end-to-end solutions. Our military needs an operational solution. And that's what we're good at TNO Defense, let's put it that way, next to the technology we have there. Because, for example, on radar technology, we are really a global player there. And I think what we are adding now from the civil part of space is another layer of, or you might say a pillar of technology. To support that end-to-end operational capability, we have some great technology here. For example, on secure communications, optical satellite communications. And that combination is really, and that's what I've been learning the past few months, that combination is really nice. And what I'm learning also there is also that operational capability we can look at it from end to end, but we only can have operational capabilities if we work together within NATO or Europe or other partners. And yeah, that's my take on dual use. So absolutely logical for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's logical and it's also basically unavoidable. Because it concerns us all, and it doesn't make sense to keep it apart.
And especially in our role as TNO, and in my role as director for space, but also my personal opinion, honestly, we can try to hide ourselves, but look at the world.
Yeah.
We need to be stronger.
Yeah. So also there, again, explanation, education, awareness raising is also needed. That to make it understand why it is so, and it's not always visible. Speaking on not of things that not always obvious, maybe one more general question before we have 2 questions from the audience. Before we come to that, another hot topic is sustainability. So you also mentioned it in the beginning. It's a very hot topic. It's one of the major goals on TNO, that to have this always included, being taken care of, as we heard in the beginning. But it's not always obvious how space contributes to sustainability. Especially because nowadays everyone is, of course, totally green, sustainable, saving the world. And how do you make sure that this is the real thing and distinguish from greenwashing? So just go ahead, paint it green and say, here, we are sustainable. So how do you how do you make that sure?
Yeah, it's yeah. I will tell you about one example, multiple examples, but I will pick one. The Dutch have made the Tropomai instrument. Tropomai is flying on the ESA Sentinel-5P satellite, and I think it's currently the best atmospheric measurement satellite there is now. And it looks at multiple gases, NO2, O3, but also methane. Tropomai looked at coal mines in Australia. And of course, the scientists use the data. So that's not only TNO, actually, that are scientists. And they use that Tropomai data. And what we see, because Tropomai looked at 6 coal mines, who in total contribute as 7% of the total coal mine production in Australia. So one would expect those 6 coal mines, 7% of the coal mines, would emit 7% of the methane stemming from mine production, right? And what do we see? Already those 7% of coal mines, and we measure it, are responsible for 55% of what we expect. So 7% emit 55% of the methane emissions of what we expected for total Australia. So there you have it. With those satellites, we can measure things we just do not know and take meaningful actions. Without the satellites, we would have thought, okay, 7% of the coal mines, they will emit 7% of the methane emissions. It's just not true. So again, with those satellites, and we are actually, we have proposed a new mission to ESA, the Tango mission in the Scout framework, with a nice consortium here in the Netherlands, to measure even more accurate CO2 and methane. So yeah, this is not greenwashing. This is really trying to give a meaningful contribution to, you might say, prevent or limit global warming. Yeah, we really feel it that way, I think. Yeah.
No, I think that's a really, really nice example to illustrate why this is so important, and also filling what we discussed in the beginning, how important all space applications are for our daily lives. So we're coming close to the end. We have 2 questions here from Christoph. The first one is, what are the best opportunities and hardest challenges TNOs as a Dutch and European TNO as a Dutch and European company? So it's not a company, but player.
The opportunities, I think, is this global and European collaboration. I think we are an R&D organization, so we are not a company. So for us, it's, I think, somehow easier to say what we think is important because we don't have a commercial interest, right? So I think that's one. So we can raise our voice in a global or European context on topics like global warming or secure connectivity. And that's what we do. And what we see is that people listen to us. And the opportunity attached to that, again, is that we as R&D organization can, on those niches that we work on, pull in Dutch companies so that the Dutch get a stake in those opportunities that there are. And that's why we do it, tackling societal issues and connecting Dutch industries towards that. So those are, I think, the main opportunities. What are the challenges? Sometimes I say we should move to Germany or France or Belgium because we have, I think, in the Netherlands, but also as TNO, a great competence. And that's at least the feedback that we get back from the global players that we're working with. But the Dutch budget is not always as we want it. And that's difficult in space, because as we know, ESA works with a geo-return policy. We could have all kinds of opinions about that, but that's the current policy. And sometimes I also understand it. When we as Dutch can't commit to that much budget because we need to make choices, that is difficult because then we miss out opportunities. And this is not about TNO. We have plenty of work. It's about that we think can have a meaningful contribution to topics, and again, connecting the Dutch towards the other partners in the world or in Europe. So for me, those are the opportunities and challenges that I have. Mm. So we need to explain it better, Heike.
Yeah. Yeah, but I also think in the other countries, the competition for the budget will never be enough, I guess. So there is another question related to that, also from Christoph. What is your strategy for international outreach? Are emerging space countries relevant to TNO as markets and/or partners?
Oh, that's a good question, I think. Let me chew on that a little. I would say yes, and it depends. If such a small country has a niche that we don't have, then I believe in the collaboration. And often those countries have such niches. For example, on manufacturing of certain products or modules or components. And there I think we should really collaborate. It's also, and we can almost go public on it, we are helping we are going to help a Latin American country to use tropomite data. So also there, I think that's a nice example of where we can help an emerging space country like one in Latin America by the knowledge that we have. So that collaboration I really believe in, but it should be synergetic, I think.
And also in the international context, you can you can enable Dutch companies also to get a foothold in other countries, international offices and operations, things like that. And yeah, again, cooperations.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you. So we are right on time. So let's maybe wrap up. We have looked at the topic from a lot of different angles, very interesting. So coming back to our title question, how is space technology key for Europe's sovereignty? Do you have like a final statement or summary, a message to wrap this up for us?
Yes. There's this Dutch company. They are called VDL, a really high-tech company. And what I like about their slogan is, it's of course in Dutch, but I'll translate it into English: strength through collaboration. And I think that might summarize what we just discussed. Strength through truly synergetic collaboration. I think that's what we need to do to become a little stronger in the world. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think it's a nice finish to that. I think there's nothing more to add. And so I think, yeah, we finish with that. And then thanks a lot for being my guest. It was a really insightful talk. Why European sovereignty is important, and yeah, how relevant space is in this context. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the invitation. It really was my pleasure.
So, Torsten, it's back to you then.
Yes, thank you very much. Wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it. So before we say goodbye, let me remind you of our next upcoming events. As you can see here this week, we have here in Berlin the next DLR Small Satellite Conference that we will attend. Then next week, we will be on the Azore Islands, where we will report from an analog astronaut mission, the CAMOS. And then on the 5th of December, we will have our next and potentially last Space Café Regional. Here it's Space Café Israel by Heike Poignand. You might you might remember that we planned to do that beginning of October, but due to the situation in Israel, we decided to postpone it. So it will be now on the 5th of December. And then later in December, we will attend the World Space Forum, where we try to also come up with some interesting projects for you that we do. We plan for a live Space Cafe from an Vienna cafe house. That would be pretty cool if that works. And we will do a live podcast production at the UN World Space Forum. So that's from our end. And as usual, all these events will be online on Eventbrite, or Space Café Israel is already. And we like to hear from you, your feedback. So please check in with us on Twitter, on Facebook, and LinkedIn. Don't forget to sign up to our daily or bi-weekly newsletters. And if you like to treat yourself with something special, become a Space Watcher or help us in our supporter program. Thank you very much, Heike and Kees, for this insightful talk and being our guest and host. Thank you, dear audience, and for joining us. We hope to see you in our next events. In the meantime, visit our website and follow us on social media. Take good care and don't forget to become a Space Watcher. Thank you very much.